5 Sins that Jesus hated most. Jesus taught that there are certain sins that are particularly abhorrent to God. In this video, we will explore 5 of these sins and why Jesus hated them so much. The 5th is the greatest of all. Number 1. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the act of pretending to be something you're not. It's a form of deception that can be particularly damaging to others. Jesus pronounced a curse on hypocrites 7 times in Matthew 23:13-29. He taught that it's possible to lie without even speaking, simply by giving others a false impression of who you are. The Pharisees of Jesus' day were guilty of hypocrisy. They appeared pious and holy on the outside, but their inner lives were full of self-indulgence, Matthew 23:25. They prayed lengthy prayers in public, but didn't pray in private. This kind of hypocrisy is still prevalent today. Number 2. Spiritual pride. Spiritual pride is a sin that can be particularly difficult to recognize. It's the attitude of thinking you're better than others because of your spiritual achievements. Jesus taught that this kind of pride is an abomination to God. In Luke 18:9-14, Jesus told the parable of the self-righteous Pharisee who despised others in his prayer. This kind of pride can lead to judging others and thinking you're superior to them. Number 3. Impurity. Impurity enters our hearts through our eyes and ears. It's the sin of allowing unclean thoughts and desires to take root in our minds. Jesus taught that we must be careful about what we see and hear, lest we fall into sin. In Matthew 5:27-29, Jesus taught that it's better to pluck out your eye or cut off your hand than to sin with them. This is a radical teaching, but it highlights the seriousness of impurity. Number 4. Indifference to human need. Jesus was angry when he saw people who were indifferent to the needs of others. In Mark 3:5, he was deeply disturbed by the leaders of the synagogue who didn't want him to heal a man on the Sabbath. We are commanded to do good to all people, especially to fellow believers, Galatians 6:10. Jesus taught that those who don't show compassion to others will be cast out of his presence on the final day, Matthew 25:41-46. Number 5. Unbelief. Unbelief is a sin that can be particularly subtle. It's the attitude of doubting God's goodness and provision. Jesus rebuked his disciples 7 times for unbelief. In Hebrews 3:12, unbelief is described as an evil heart. It's an insult to God, implying that he doesn't care for his children. Jesus preached a faith that is not just about getting things from God, but about living by faith in our daily lives. Conclusion. Now that we've explored the 5 sins that Jesus hated most, let's make it our aim to hate them too. Let's ruthlessly crucify these sins in our lives and seek to live a life of faith, compassion, and purity.